Hey there, everyone. What's going on? Lauren Sisler here with AL.com. Welcome into our Week 13 edition of SEC Insider as the regular college football season winds down. This one brought to you by All South Appliance and hanging out in the beautiful showroom here off of Lakeshore Parkway. Lots of beautiful appliances behind me. And one of our viewers chimed in at one point and said this was seemingly my house. No, I got a lot of kitchens behind me. This is not my house. This is the showroom over here at All South Appliance. Wanted to make sure I cleared that up for you guys. Tom Green joins me now to discuss the latest at Auburn on the Plains. Gus Malzahn has been relieved of his head coaching duties as of yesterday, as announced by the university. Alan Green, the athletics director, said that they will be moving in a different direction in terms of finding a coach. The coaching search is on. As of now, Kevin Steele, the defensive coordinator, will be the interim coach for the full season. And Tom, just wanted to get your thoughts overall, kind of the timing of this. Were you expecting this to happen over the weekend, or even, I guess, this year, or did you think this was something we might see, down the road?
I think if you had told me before the season that Auburn would make a coaching change this year, I would have found it a little bit hard to comprehend, just because of 2020. This is a season that is unlike any other. It's being played against the backdrop of the coronavirus pandemic. Auburn has already come out earlier this year saying that the athletic department was planning for a budgetary shortfall of tens of millions of dollars. I just think it would have been hard to kind of justify making a move when the athletic department's working at a loss like that this year. Just because of that hefty buyout that Gus had with 4 years remaining on his contract. They owe him $21.4 million. Half of that is due within 30 days. So, I would have found it a little hard to believe, but obviously, things change pretty quickly, especially at Auburn. I think in the last couple of weeks, there was a lot more noise, especially after that loss to Alabama, and then, that loss to Texas A&M, where the team just, kind of fell flat in the fourth quarter and, lost a chance at a signature win. I think his comment, after that game when he said that, they have a chance to still have a quote unquote solid year, rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, just because, Auburn expects to compete for championships. And I know he kind of came forward and clarified that comment a day later. But, once you say something like that, it's kind of hard to backtrack and clarify a day later. Optics are everything. So ultimately, I was still a little surprised that they decided to pull the trigger after Saturday's win. It wasn't a pretty win by any means, but again, I just wasn't sure that this was going to be the year. I thought that he was going to have one more opportunity next year because coming into the season, you look at that roster and what they lost and what they were bringing back next year. I think a lot of people really thought that next year was going to be that make or break season for him.
All right, and Tom, just before we kind of get into what's up next, I wanted to pop up this tweet from KJ Britt. A lot of support coming for Gus Malzahn, obviously from the players, and just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on what you're sort of hearing around the program in terms of the response, I guess, inside the program, and this tweet right here from KJ Britt being one of those. In 2020, I found out something: most of these coaches don't care about their players, just the money. Find another college coach to care about their players as much as Coach Malzahn did for us, and I'll be a fan. It's bigger than a record. It's more in a locker room than a record. So just kind of curious to get your thoughts and just the overall response. And again, the timing of this coming up on the heels of early signing day.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can have plenty of criticism about Gus Malzahn's 8 years at Auburn, the win-loss record. Even though he never had a losing season, still 7 straight years with at least 4 losses. That 0-12 record on the road at Alabama, Georgia, and LSU really stands out. But one thing that you cannot debate with him is that he cared about those players and those players loved him. He never lost that locker room. And I think it was pretty evident in just the outpouring of support from the players, who seemed shocked and kind of surprised by the decision to let him go. This is a guy who, he's a player's coach. He's always believed in the players. He's kind of empowered them, especially, we saw that a lot this year, especially amid all the social unrest this summer, and just kind of navigating this pandemic season with them. I think we learned a lot more about Gus Malzahn as a person this year than we have in a lot of his tenure. And again, I think these players have the utmost respect for him. A lot of them are kind of taken aback and surprised. But yeah, it was very evident that these players loved him and he loved them back.
Yeah, no doubt. And of course, I think the locker room video after the game against Mississippi State, as you said, not the most lustrous win for them, but just the excitement you saw him dancing around, having fun with the guys. And so, certainly I think that we see a different side of Gus Malzahn. I've had the opportunity to work with him one-on-one, kind of do some fun videos with him and his wife, Christy, and have enjoyed getting to know them over the years. And so, I know that he means a lot to that program, as does Christy, and all that they've done and wrapped their arms around Auburn football. So always hard for a transition. Just wanted to get your thoughts. I know everybody wants to know who's next and when does that happen? Because again, the timing of this is all a little bit convoluted as we're up against early signing day on Wednesday. And then of course, the regular signing day coming in February. But by all accounts, it seems like a lot of guys will sign in this early signing period after talking to a lot of coaches around the SEC, for the simple fact that guys aren't able to get on campus because of the pandemic. There hasn't been a lot of drama, a lot of back and forth just because of the Zoom calls and everything else. So just kind of curious to get your thoughts about, who could potentially be the one to step in, and what are you hearing about the coaching search thus far?
Well, I think first of all, you touched on it with, the timeline for Auburn. It's really peculiar, with signing day just, a couple days away. Any other season, this decision comes 2 weeks ago because the season would have ended after Thanksgiving weekend. And, you would have had a little bit more time to flesh out the search, get someone in place, and still have a week or so to, recruit and kind of stabilize that recruiting class. But because of everything, the season ended for Auburn this past weekend. You still got SEC teams playing this weekend, plus the championship games for all the conferences, even with signing day this week. So it's kind of a little bit of a time crunch. I think that this will be the first time that a Power 5 coach a Power 5 program may not have a full-time head coach in place at the start of the early signing period. So it's really going to be curious to see how quickly Auburn can move here. But, as for names, we put together a list yesterday, just based on conversations with sources in the industry and at Auburn, some names to look out for. Obviously, Kevin Steele, interim head coach right now. There's a lot of noise around, him being a serious candidate to take over the program full time. Some other names to watch, certainly Mario Cristobal at Oregon. Obviously he's got ties to the state of Alabama and, can recruit Florida and Alabama really well. Some of the guys, Lane Kiffin, Hugh Freeze, even Steve Sarkisian's name in there. There's certainly some, really intriguing names to look out for. But I think in the last, 16 hours since that decision, there's been a lot of smoke about, Kevin Steele being a legitimate candidate. Not sure what's going to happen just yet, but I think we'll find out pretty soon.
Wow, interesting news indeed. And, certainly we're going to continue to, track this. And, I guess my last question for you, Tom, is there anything kind of glaring about what we can expect on Wednesday in terms of recruiting? Again, a very peculiar, I can't even say that word right, peculiar, as you said, timeline with how this goes. How much does that impact Wednesday? And do you expect to see anyone, make a firm commitment or waiver on it now without the idea of who's going to be the next head football coach?
Yeah, Auburn's going into this early signing period right now with the number 42 class in the country, number 12 class in the SEC. I don't think we're necessarily going to see them lose too many guys right away. I think some guys may decide to hold off until February just to kind of get a better grasp of this. But I think they're going to have a hard time, adding on some more guys in these next 2 days without having named a head coach. So I wouldn't expect a very splashy signing day for Auburn this Wednesday, but these next couple of months could really be interesting, especially with the one-time transfer rule coming into play, likely in January. If there's ever a season where you might not close well on early signing day, this could be it, because you have that opportunity to kind of build a little bit more depth through the transfer market this year than in some other years.
Yeah, great point there, Tom. Really appreciate the insight as always. Of course, we'll follow Tom Green here for for all the latest updates on Auburn, as well as Gianna Hahn, both of our beat reporters there on site. And then, of course, Matt Zenitz and John Talke also covering the story as well as it unfolds, which I imagine will be for the next couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months. We'll see how it shapes up. Appreciate you, Tom, as always. And we appreciate all of you guys for watching. And we appreciate our sponsor, All South Appliance, proud sponsor of SEC Insider, inviting you to visit us online at myallsouth.com or at any one of our showrooms. I'm here at Lakeshore Parkway, location in Birmingham. They've got several across the state of Alabama, Tennessee, and